You know, there's an energy that you have when you're doing things you love with people you love. And your productivity goes up if you trust the people that you're working with, if you're aligned in values. And so the measurements are very similar to that of, say, a standard business, but the feeling and the energy and the culture is not a standard business. It is a spiritual business. So we're measuring by the same measurements that everybody else is. You got to look at profits and losses, and you got to look at return on investment and the various OKRs and KPIs that are commonplace in a standard business apply. But then there's other metrics that you start to study as well, like looking at the sentiment of your culture. And now with AI technology, some of which we're innovating on, you can start to measure those things. And so we're measuring things that were once unmeasurable, and we're able to see the type of effect that we're having both in our companies and in the companies that we serve. And we're able to do so in a measurable way that, you know, before it was much more anecdotal or subjective. Now we can objectively say that our work makes an impact in culture. You know, and as we expand our reach, so will our impact. The nature of humanity is a pretty big influence on my business strategies. However, I love animals. I love learning from nature. I love expansive landscapes and marveling at the creation process. And as a creative individual, which all entrepreneurs are, we have to be. Really, the best way to embrace creativity is to drink deeply from creation. The difference between building a company and building a movement is something people will get really passionate about. And a movement has an energy to it. It means something. A movement needs many leaders, and it's structured differently. And it's the dream to have activity occurring outside of your will. When people are involved in a movement, it plants a seed within them that grows, and it grows independent of your direct input. So once you plant those seeds and you cultivate those relationships, a movement can grow into something that is far beyond and far more powerful and more meaningful than a company. A company can be very powerful and make a lot of money, but not as meaningful as a movement. A movement is open to many, many more people than just the employees and the shareholders of the company. A movement touches everyone. It's a message that touches all of the people that are a part of the company. And yeah, you know, if your movement is a company, in our case, our movement is structured as a company, not as a nonprofit, you have certain expectations and certain things that you do that are very similar to that of a standard company. But the energy of it, the culture of it, the way it operates, the people involved, the meaning that it creates in the lives of those that it touches is far different. And the reason why we're using a for-profit model is because we need billions of dollars to make the impact that we plan to make. There's no better way to raise billions of dollars than to create a lot of value in the marketplace. I write every day, most every day, and I generally write about whatever I feel. So I'll work on my next book, which I've been working on for a while now, or I'll work on something I'm going to share with my community, or I'll just write down my thoughts about the experience that I have in life in a journal. But for the most part, every day I'm writing something, and I've been contemplating my next book for quite some time, and I finally have the ending. And so now that I have the wisdom and I have the beginning, which is where my last book left off, but now that I have the ending, I just got to fill in the middle. How do you handle ethical dilemmas?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of them, because you might have the dilemma of, let's say, not wanting to hurt someone's feelings, or having, let's say, the dilemma of having hurt someone's feelings, or having to take a stand for who you are is an ethical dilemma. Do I allow this person to continue conduct the way that they are, or do I take a stand and correct them? So you're always faced with moral and ethical dilemmas. Some are less than others, and some are more dramatic than others, but that's just the nature of being a spiritual entrepreneur. Like, sometimes you gotta let people go. Sometimes you gotta tell people no. Sometimes you have to say, no, I'm not doing it that way. I don't believe that's what's right. That doesn't align with me. And people will test you. In fact, people will show up. The people that it's meant for are going to get it. The people that your resolve and your willingness to stand for who you are and for your people and what you believe in. And if you don't respond correctly, you're going to have a lot of tough time in business. If you have a large audience, you're going to have a lot of people that don't like you, and you have to get used to that. You have to get used to the fact that you're going to piss some people off. They're going to naturally be inclined to dislike you because you represent something to them, or because they have some unhealed emotions within themselves that they're projecting on you. You know, that's the nature of the beast. But those people that criticize you and that tear you apart, I think they're good for you. I think they humble you. I think they teach you about humanity. I pray for them. I seek to have empathy for them. And I get some pretty nasty stuff sent to me. And I just feel bad for a person that is in that much pain that they want to try to bring someone down to their level and try to correct someone that they don't know. There's a lot of people out there that they feel like their job is to correct other people that they don't know. And when you go deeper into the spiritual journey, you realize that all correction is internal. The external correction is a fraction of really what you need. Any fear that you have, the work is to understand it, look at it, and to process it, to look at the root of where it's come from. Is it a real fear, or is it an imaginary fear, or something you've made up? Most of it is all just noise. But you have to listen to that noise, observe it, and then you have to do the work to change the narrative. So if I have a narrative running on fear and I catch it, then I've got to do the work to change the narrative and realize that fear is not going to benefit me. Alignment between the marketing and sales team comes by way of collaboration. But it's very important that salespeople don't try to be marketing people and marketing people don't try to be salespeople. They need to collaborate. They need to have mutual respect for the differences in skills. But you don't want salespeople spending all day long thinking about marketing, and you don't want marketing people all day long trying to become salespeople. They're two different types of personality and they have two different mandates, but they need to work together because the marketing department exists to bring salespeople, the leads that they need to work with. So you have to have both of those engines dialed and fine-tuned. And once you get your marketing and your sales engine dialed up and your fulfillment engine, the rest will figure itself out. If you listen to your customers, they'll tell you some things they tell us, great ideas, just can't do it right now. Other things we take action on. And you have to be able to objectively listen to feedback and then take action according to your plan and what's right. You can't take action on every idea that gets sent your way. It's not the best thing to do. You have to only take action on those ideas that make sense for you and that feel right and that you can spend the resources and energy on. Well, you got to restrict all kinds of stuff to grow. You have to restrict fear. You have to restrict noise. You have to restrict distraction. You have to restrict your lower self. You got to restrict all kinds of things to be successful in business. And in fact, I would argue that the reason why most people are not successful in business is they have not developed the engine around their willpower, their discipline, and their focus. These are all engines that need to be fine-tuned in order for you to be successful as an entrepreneur. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, help boost this video. I want to get the word out about my work and I could use your help. Thank you so much and God bless.